Please don't have me deported from California. There is no book in the Bible called Hezekiah. But you were looking for it. Have I proved my point? Yes or no? Say yes. Yes. Listen to me. I love you. The Bible calls upon me to love you. Learn the books of the Bible. Teach your children. If you have no interest, teach your children. Now Galatians 5 verse 14. Do you have the King James Version? If you have it, read with me. For all the law is what? Fulfilled in what? What? One word. Stop.
One word.
I said stop. Disobedience will not take you to heaven. For all the law is fulfilled in one word. Do you see one word?
Yes.
What's that one word? Tell me. No. Read the verse. What's the one word? Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. 7 words make up one word, because in the Bible sometimes one word, the word word refers to a statement. Now, this statement, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, is one of 2 great commandments. Now follow me, you have to think. That was favor number 3. Listen to me carefully, this is very important. Paul was quoting the second of the 2 great commandments. Remember Mark chapter 12, reading from verse 28. And one of the scribes came, and having heard them reasoning together, and perceiving that he answered them well, asked him, which is the first commandment of all? And he said, the first commandment of all is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, with all thy strength. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So Jesus says, commandment number 1, love God. Commandment number 2, love your fellow man. And of course the 10 come out of those 2. So Paul is saying, the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself is a word. Did you read it?
Amen.
It's a word. Then the commandment to love God is the other word.
Amen.
But let's get another example of the Bible saying a word, meaning a sentence. Go to Hebrews chapter 6. Not 6, sorry. Hebrews 12. If I go too fast, say so. I have so much I have so much to tell you that I try to, sometimes I run like a locomotive. And it's not good because you miss a lot. That's a 4th request. Pray for me that the Lord will slow me down. All right. Do you have, what book did I say? Hebrews
12.
12. Let's read from verse 26. Whose voice then shook the earth. Now read the rest with me if you have a King James. But now hath he what? Promise, saying, what did he say? Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. Let's read those words again. What did he promise, saying? Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. That's about 11 or 12 words now. That's a long sentence. Now let's go to the next verse. And this word, read with me, and this word, what? Yet once more. And he doesn't write all of it, but he just writes the first 2 words, yet once more. What does he call that? This word. Do you see what I'm saying? Paul refers to, or whoever wrote Hebrews, that long statement in verse 26, he calls that this word. And that word is found in Haggai chapter 2 verse 6, Haggai 2:21, Joel chapter 3 verse 16. Where God said, I will shake heaven and the earth. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land. Haggai 2 verse 6, verse 21, and Joel 3 verse 16. In the Bible, sometimes a statement is called a word. Now, Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. Is it possible that Jesus was referring to statements God made? Yes. Let's look at some evidence. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 4. As we continue our subject, how are you living? So Jesus tells us how to live by every word. What are those words? When we identify those words, our lives can change. Let's go to temptation number 2, reading from verse 5 of Matthew 4. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down. For it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Again the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then said Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Now, let's look at the three responses Jesus gave to Satan. The first, he said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. The second temptation, Jesus said, it is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. The third temptation, Jesus said, it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Now let's look at these three responses. Jesus Christ was quoting from the Old Testament. Tell you something else. All three quotations come from the same book, Deuteronomy. Tell you something else. Follow me closely. All three quotations come from a specific section of Deuteronomy. This is a good time to say, Lord, put your words in that man's mouth. It's a good time to say, Lord, help me think. Let me say that again. The three responses of Christ came from the book of Deuteronomy. All three responses came from a certain section in the book of Deuteronomy. Let's examine the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy is a copy. The word Deuteronomy means copy. Some people say repetition, the same thing I suppose, practically speaking. Because it has the 10 Commandments repeated. Moses just rehearses what he heard God say. God did not speak them 40 years later. Moses is just rehearsing what God told him in chapter 20 of the book of Exodus, when he literally heard God speak. Now, the book of Deuteronomy is made up of three major speeches given by Moses. And the major word in the book is the word possess. The word possess occurs about 106 times in the entire Bible. About 52 times or somewhere around there in the book of Deuteronomy. Now that's significant statistically. Possess. Why is possess the key word in Deuteronomy? Because the book was written, or Moses spoke, on the very edges of the promised land. They could see the promised land across the river. That's where they were. He is talking to them after 40 years of wandering. Now he realizes they're about to go over, and he wants to remind them of all that God had tried to teach them with varying degrees of success in those 40 years. It's like a parent. The child is getting ready to leave home for the first time to go to school. Before the child leaves home, you tell the child, do this, do that, do that. Then you get on the plane with your child, take your child all the way to Oakwood or some of the school, and just before you walk, you say, remember, son, what I told you. Remember this. Moses is telling them, remember. And so he rehearses the history of Israel. The book is broken down 4 sections. Chapter 1, verse 1 to chapter 4, verse 43. Now in that section, Moses recapitulates, he reviews God's dealing with the Israelites for 40 years. He reviews the major events from Mount Horeb to Moab where they were. And he encourages them to avoid idolatry. The second section, the second long speech, goes from chapter 4, verse 45 to chapter 26, verse 19. In that section, it focuses on moral and civil laws. Moral and civil laws. The whole section from chapter 4, verse 49 to chapter 26, verse 19. Moral and civil statutes. The third section, chapter 27, verse 1 to chapter 31, verse 30. That section deals with the blessings of obedience, the curses of disobedience, and encouragement to be faithful to the covenant. Chapter 32, the Song of Moses. Chapter 33, Moses blessing each individual tribe. And chapter 34, the death, burial of Moses. That's a general breakdown of the book. Now, let's review the 3 sections again at 25 to 12 to 1. First section, from chapter 1, verse 1 to chapter 4, verse 43. A review of the major events in the life of the Israelites, how God dealt with them, how he punished them, how he delivered them, and an encouragement to avoid idolatry. Second section, chapter 4, verse 44 to 26, verse 19, it deals with moral and civil laws. From chapter 27, verse 1 to 31, verse 30, the blessings of obedience, the curses of disobedience. Now, the second section goes from where to where? Tell me. See if you're listening. From chapter 4, verse 44 to what?
26,
26, verse 19. That's right. Now, that third section has two subsections. It's easy to understand. Is this the church? Is this the whole church? Does this church have subsections? Is this the tabernacle? Is there a pastor's office? Is there a bathroom? But it's all the church. Those are subsections. Now, the second section, which goes from chapter 4, verse 44 to 26, verse 19, is divided into two subsections. The second subsection goes from chapter 12 to 26, 19. And here's what it deals with. It deals with worship, purity, laws of purity, laws governing tithe, the three major feasts all Hebrew men were supposed to celebrate at Jerusalem. It deals with the behavior of prophets, priests, kings. It tells the Israelites how to wage war. And it also deals with public and private life behavior. That's the second subsection, which goes from chapter 12 to chapter 26, verse 19. The first subsection goes from chapter 5 to chapter 11. Now listen carefully to me. That subsection deals only with the Ten Commandments. Did you say repeat them? All right. Chapters 5 through 11 of Deuteronomy deals only with the Ten Commandments. First, they are repeated in chapter 5. The rest is an exposition. Give me another word for exposition. An outlining, explaining, yes, open them up. What do you mean? An exposition of the Ten Commandments. Let me repeat. Deuteronomy chapters 5 through 11 focus exclusively on the Ten Commandments. Now, the responses of Jesus to Satan came from that section.
Amen.
So when Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word, it came from the section of Deuteronomy that focuses on the Ten Commandments. When he said, he shall not tempt the Lord thy God, it came from the section of Deuteronomy that focuses on the Ten Commandments. When he said, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve, it came from the section that focuses on the Ten Commandments alone. That gives us a clue. What did Jesus mean? Let's listen to the words again. It is written. Where? In Deuteronomy. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And also jump off the building, Jesus said, it is written, ye shall not tempt the Lord thy God. It is written. Where? Deuteronomy 6, verse 13, or verse 16. Third temptation, bow down and worship. Jesus said, it's written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God. Where is it written? Deuteronomy 6, verse 13. Verse 16. No, 13, sorry. Now, what did Jesus possibly mean? Every word. Before we answer that, let's go to the final example of God speaking directly without a medium. Whether it's a prophet, a dream, a vision, Urim, Thummim, they come directly out of the mouth of God to the listeners. Exodus chapter 20. Reading from verse 1, our subject is, how are you living? Exodus 20, reading from verse 1. Do you have that? It's book number 2. Amen. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which hath brought thee out of the land of Egypt, and out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Now, we know when God spake the commandments, he spoke them to whom? The entire gathering of the Israelites. Scholars estimate there were 2 million Israelites that left Egypt. We're told precisely 600,000 men. Men were married, they had children. Some probably had servants or slaves. At least 2 million people came out. Now, Hebrews tells us when God spoke the commandments on Sinai, Hebrews 12:26, his voice shook the earth.